In 1788, while justifying the basic structure of the newly proposed Constitution, James Madison made an extraordinary assertion. The accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary, in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, and whether hereditary, self-appointed, or elective, may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny. The freedom of the American people, Madison suggested, depends less on how their leaders are chosen than on whether the different powers of government are divided among different people. Political legitimacy may require representation, but the defense of liberty requires above all that there be more than one answer to the fundamental political question, who rules? The means by which the Constitution addresses this need has come to be known as the separation of powers. The notion that there are three basic modes of governmental action has deep roots in the political tradition of the West. In the 4th century BC, Aristotle identified lawmaking, the execution of the law, and the adjudication of disputes about its implications as the three core functions of government. But he did not insist they must be separated, because the freedom of the citizen was not his primary concern. That emphasis on liberty reached the framers of the Constitution through classical liberal thinkers like Montesquieu, who, in 1748, made an assertion much like Madison's. When the powers of government are united in the same person or in the same body of magistrates, there can be no liberty. In short, concentrated power is fundamentally unaccountable. If the people who make the law also decide how to enforce it, then it is the will of those individuals and not the authority of the law that governs the society. The separation of powers is also a matter of recognizing the distinct characters of the different powers of government. The legislature frames and authorizes government action. It makes the laws that channel public power and allocate public resources. In a complex society, this is the product of compromise between different views and factions. The executive generally acts within the structures established by the laws that the legislature frames. The president applies the power given to him by Congress to the particular circumstances our society confronts. He reacts to events, adjusts to pressures, and makes concrete choices among permissible options in complicated situations. The judiciary steps in after laws have been framed and actions have been taken, reviewing them to make sure that general rules have been applied appropriately in particular circumstances. The branches also represent different modes of legitimacy. The House of Representatives and the Senate are directly elected by the people, and their internal plurality makes them capable of representing the diversity of our society. The president is more indirectly elected, and his unitary office puts his own character front and center. The courts are appointed and kept shielded from the shifting winds of public opinion, in the hope of elevating learned judgment over popularity. While the Constitution does create three distinct branches of government to house the three distinct functions of government, it also intertwines those branches and involves them in one another's work. Presidential appointments and treaties require the approval of the Senate, for instance, and all executive and judicial officers can be impeached and removed by Congress. The president can veto legislation and propose specific measures to Congress. Judges are appointed by the executive if the Senate approves, and can halt or reverse some kinds of legislative and executive actions if they're unlawful. The everyday work of the branches draws them constantly into one another's business. As Madison noted, To achieve the primary purpose of the separation of these branches, the prevention of abuses of power, and the defense of the liberties of citizens, it is necessary to intermix the branches a bit. However, this mixing of authorities must be marginal, giving each branch some modest means to restrain the others as a defense measure. The branches can't be fully separated because, to serve the very purpose of the separation, they have to resist and pressure each other. The system's work must consist of human interaction. It must be dynamic and durable, and somehow exist in constant tension with itself. Without this endless combat between the branches, our government could neither meet our society's needs nor secure the people's freedom. The absence of a functional, complex, shifting separation of powers could justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny.